Hey there, I'm Mealtime Mentor Jenni, and I'm excited to virtually be here with Jimmy Callahan from Guinness. Today we're going to walk through a fun way to bake with Guinness along with other tips and tricks for enjoying Guinness. Before we get started though, Jimmy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Guinness?
I'm one of our Guinness Brewery ambassadors in the United States, and I get to go around and teach people about beer and Guinness and all things about Guinness heritage and history. It's a terrible job. It's the worst.
It sounds really fun. And today we are going to be talking about Guinness and chocolate cake. So I have a Guinness chocolate layer cake, and the theme of it is chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. So the cake itself is made with 72% chocolate, so very dark, and then the ganache frosting is made with a bittersweet chocolate. So again, that dark chocolate. Can you talk a little bit about why Guinness is such a good pairing with this dark chocolate cake?
Can you tell me why I don't have any of that cake with me right now?
I wish I could share it with you.
So one of the beautiful things about Guinness are those chocolate and toffee and coffee flavors, and where that comes from is roasting barley. So a lot of people think of Guinness as this really dark and heavy beer, but basically we just take one of those ingredients from beer: barley, hops, yeast, water. We take the grain barley and we roast it like you would roast coffee, and that's where you get the dark color of the beer. And then also those coffee, chocolate, toffee flavors. So having a Guinness with a dessert is the perfect drink because it mirrors those flavors of chocolate and is almost like having that like coffee with dessert at the end of a meal.
Yeah, and this cake is kind of like the best of both worlds because it has Guinness in it, but it also does have a little bit of that coffee flavor. And neither of those flavors are too pronounced, but together it's just like the perfect pairing. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the difference between Guinness in a bottle, which is what I have here, and then Guinness in a can, which is what I wish I had?
Sure. So, it's all the same beer. So if you go to the pub and you order a Guinness and they pour it into a glass, that beer is the same as the beer that you have there, and it's the same as the beer that I have here in the can. They're all just different ways of extracting gas, as weird as that sounds. So what makes Guinness Draft unique is that we inject the beer with nitrogen bubbles along with CO2. So nitrogen bubbles, it's an inert gas. It's odorless, flavorless, but these bubbles are really tiny. They don't burst on your tongue when you drink them, and the result is that you get this really creamy, sometimes people will say thick, but like this velvety texture on your tongue, as opposed to bubbles bursting in your tongue like CO2, like, soda, pop, sparkling water, another beer. So the difference between the bottle and the can is just different ways of extracting nitrogen. Inside the neck of that bottle, there's these tiny little friction surfaces, and every time you take a sip, the beer, when it flows over that surface, it extracts the gas out of the beer, so that you get that nice creaminess on your tongue as you drink it. And the bottle is for when you're tailgating, when you're camping, hunting, backyard barbecue, when you don't have a glass to pour into. But if you do have a glass, you've got Guinness Draft in the can. And the beauty of this is what we call the widget, this little tiny piece of plastic. It looks like a ping pong ball with a hole in it. And during the canning process, the widget is put into the can and it goes across the line. Beer is poured in there, goes across the line. We squirt a little bit of liquid nitrogen in there, and then when you seal it, the liquid nitrogen evaporates, and it creates this crazy amount of pressure inside the can, and so the gas wants to escape. It cannot because the can is sealed, and what happens is a mixture of beer and gas is forced into this little widget. So now I basically have like a beer grenade, and when I crack it open, because it's under so much pressure, it's going to release that widget all around the can, and then what you want to do is take a clean, dry glass, 45-degree angle, and just gently, don't slosh it around, but just gently pour it down the side of that glass, and what you're going to get is that same beautiful pour that you would get in a pub, that you can craft this pint at home by yourself. So it's all one go. You don't do a two-part pour with the can, but the result is that creamy, beautiful, classic surge and settle. It looks like the bubbles are falling down the side of the glass, but in actuality, the bubbles in the middle are rising faster because there's no friction, and they're drawing those bubbles on the side down, up, and under, So you get this beautiful creamy head up at the top, and at the end, when it's all said and done, there's over 30 million nitrogen bubbles at the head of a Guinness draft. I don't know who counted, but I'm going to take their word for it.
That is so cool. It looks like you've done that a few times, the beautiful pour. And it was really neat to see the widget. I've always wondered how big it was, and it's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Very cool.
It's like a ping pong ball, you know, and you can crack it open like when if you get a Guinness draft in a can, you know, if you're into science and want to look at see what it looks like, you know, go ahead, be careful, don't cut yourself. But yeah, it's something that we invented in 1988, and it actually won the Queen's Award for technological innovation, beating out the internet.
Oh, wow.
Win. I don't know if we'd still win if there's a revote, but at the time, it was a big deal.
Awesome. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for sharing all of your beer knowledge with us today. And all of you at home, if you want to make this cake, you can find this recipe and more at bestfoods.com/meals.